Well, hey guys, it's Darwin, and today I want to talk about backcountry water filters versus backcountry water purifiers. What's the difference? Why would you use one over the other? What are the pros and cons of each, and what should you use on your next backcountry adventure? So, this summer I did 2 big trips back to back, and for both of those trips I used a completely different type of water treatment system. First off, in July, I did a 400-mile through hike of the Gates of the Arctic Traverse through the Brooks Range in Alaska, and I used what I've used for 99.9% of all of my trips in the backcountry over the past 10 years, which was a Sawyer squeeze. Actually, specifically the Sawyer Micro Squeeze, which is a hollow fiber water filter. Then in August, I took off to Central Asia to do a 800-mile bike tour through Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, and I chose to use something completely different, which was the Grail GeoPress water purifier. Now, I'll talk specifically about why I chose one over the other for both trips here in a second, but let's break down the differences between a water filter and a water purifier and why it matters. Now, first off, they both do the same thing, right? They both clean water, but it's how they clean water and what they clean out of the water that makes the difference. So first off is something like the Sawyer Squeeze or the Sawyer Squeeze Micro, the Mini, or even something like the Katadyn Be-Free filter. These are all hollow fiber filters, meaning that inside of this filter, it has all these little bitty hollow tubes, and when you press water through it, it allows the water to pass through those tubes, but the tubes are so small, it collects things like dirt, debris, bacteria, and protozoa. So the most common thing that contaminates water out in the backcountry are things like Giardia, and this has got you covered on that. It does exactly as the name implies. It filters the water, or it strains the water of debris, of dirt, silt, protozoa, and bacteria. Where a water purifier does exactly what's in the name, it purifies the water. So not only does it remove all the same things that the filter removes, dirt, debris, bacteria, and protozoa, but it also purifies out viruses, chemicals, and heavy metals in your water. So that is the big key difference between a filter and a purifier. Hey folks, I wanted to cut in here real quick and let you know that today's video is sponsored by onX Backcountry, the navigation app that honestly, I couldn't have done most of my trips in 2025 to test this gear without. Not only did I use onX Backcountry to completely route out and plan my entire Alaska through hike, but I also used the offline version of the maps while I was out in the Alaskan wilderness to make sure that I was staying safe and navigating where I was going. And I used onX Backcountry to do all of my training for my bike tour over in Central Asia, because onX Backcountry has multi-sport features baked right in, which means that if you're like me and not only do you get into hiking and backpacking, but you're also into cycling, climbing, or winter sports, onX has you covered on all of them. And you get to use some of these super awesome features that are baked in for all of those sports, like the current weather layer, so you can see what the weather is going to be like before you even get out on the trail. Or we're in shoulder season, which means snow is on the way, so using something like the slope angle layer, make sure that you stay safe from avalanche risk when you're up in the mountains in the snow. Or the 3D mapping, so before you even get out there, you can look at your terrain and plan accordingly. So if you want to get some of these super powerful, awesome features in your pocket out on the trail, check out my link down below, because right now you can get onX Backcountry for $1, only $1 for 3 months, which is a stupid good deal. And honestly, I'm not sure how much longer it's going to last. So take advantage of it now and help support my channel. I can't thank onX Backcountry enough for sponsoring me, sponsoring my channel, and all of my trips this year. And let's get back to the video. Now, over the past 10 years and 14,000 plus miles of all the adventures that I've done, 99.9% of the time I have used a hollow fiber filter. The only time that I've ever gotten sick from drinking water when using something like a hollow fiber filter was actually on the Arizona Trail in 2017. I was drinking a lot of water out of cow ponds, which is exactly what you think it is. It's a pond that cows drink out of, but they also swim in it and pee and poop in it, unfortunately. Now, even though I was using a water filter, I still got sick. And it could have been from cross-contaminating the water. Maybe I got some dirty water in my clean water. But it could have also been something that was in the water that this did not catch, which could have been chemicals. It could have been something like an agricultural runoff, like pesticides, since cows were inside of that water. When I went over to do a trip in Nepal in 2022 and 2023, hiking through the Himalayas, I also used a water filter. When I was up in the mountains next to glaciers and beautiful streams, I had no problem at all, but I did get sick from some contaminated water in a village, even though I was using a water filter. And that's because some of these villages didn't have the best sewage systems and the cleanest water. And even though I was filtering my water, I still got sick from something in the water. So for my trips this year, I decided since I was going to Alaska, I was gonna be out in pristine wilderness. There wasn't gonna be any farms, any construction going on where there could be heavy metals in the water, and not really any people that could contaminate the water with viruses. Something like a water filter was gonna be just fine for where I was going to be at, and I decided to take the chance, because anytime you take any type of water treatment system, you're taking a chance, right? Even though I'm filtering water and getting out bacteria and protozoa and dirt and debris, I'm still taking a chance that that water could potentially have a virus, a chemical, or a heavy metal runoff in it. But I used the Sawyer water filter and I was totally fine. But for my trip over in Central Asia, I did not know what type of water that I was going to be coming across on my trip. So I decided to use something different, not only just to try something different, but also because I knew that if the water had some sort of a contaminant in it that this couldn't take out, I would be safe to drink the water, and lo and behold, I did not get sick from any type of water. Now, when I was over in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, there was a lot of times where I was up in the mountains drinking pristine water off of glaciers, so I didn't have any worry with that. But there was a lot of water sources that we were drinking out of that were much sketchier. Some villages that we were going through that didn't exactly have the best sewage infrastructure. Some areas that actually had some fracking going on and a lot of construction in these valleys and a lot of runoff going into these streams, and some agricultural sections that had a lot of cattle and farming where there could have been pesticides running off in the water. So I was super glad that I had this. So with that being said, in my experience, there are pros and cons of both of these. You know, there's not one perfect thing. So first off, let's talk about the water filter. Some of the pros of the water filter are obviously going to be how small and compact it is. I mean, this thing is tiny. You can pretty much put it in anywhere in your backpack. You can put it in your pocket. You can leave it strapped to the top of a bottle. It's super easy to use and it's very compact. The other thing is it's very lightweight. I think this thing weighs like 2 ounces, maybe even under. So it's lightweight, it's compact, and they're super affordable. You can usually pick up something like a Sawyer Squeeze or a Katadyn Be Free for between the $30 and $50 range, depending on which system that you're looking at. The other positive of this is it's super versatile. You can use it with a bladder, so a dirty water bag. You can put this on top of a water bottle to use it. You can hook it up as a gravity feed system, so you can use this in a lot of different ways. Another big pro of the water filter is it's very easy to clean when you're out in the field. If you're filtering out some silty water and this starts to get clogged up from the silt in the water, you can easily back flush this with a water bottle, or if it's something like the Be Free, you can take it out, knock it on a rock a couple times, rinse it out, and you're good to go again. And then obviously the biggest pro of this is, again, it filters out things like protozoa, bacteria, dirt, and debris in your water. But the cons of the water filter are mainly 3 things. Number 1, this does not filter out viruses. It doesn't filter out chemicals. It does not filter out heavy metals. So if you're around sketchier water, you're taking more of a chance using something like a water filter. It doesn't filter out taste. So if you ever had to collect water out of a very stagnant water source where the water smelt really bad, if you filter it out of this, you'll know that the water still has that kind of funky taste to it. So it does not filter out taste. And then the biggest con of using something like a hollow fiber filter is its lack of durability. Because this is made out of a very thin ultralight plastic, these can crack, whether it's you dropping it on a rock and cracking it open, which I have seen and I've done it myself, or simply having this freeze. So if you're in super cold conditions, the water inside of this can actually freeze, and then when it starts to warm up, the plastic can expand and contract and then put a crack through those hollow fibers, jeopardizing your filter, where things like bacteria, protozoa, giardia, all that stuff can still get through there and make you sick. Now, moving on to the water purifier. What are some of the pros of the water purifier? Well, first off, again, it does what a filter can't. It's going to take out those viruses. It's going to take out those heavy metals. It's going to take out those chemicals. The other thing is it takes out the taste. So if you filter out of kind of a gross stagnant water, the water tastes pure. It literally does what it says. It purifies the water. Out of all the different filters that I've used and purifiers that I've used over the past 10 years, I can say this Grail specifically has made some of the tastiest, refreshing water that I've ever had when out on a trip. The other big pro of this is the fact that it's got a metal outside and it's built like a brick shithouse. So the durability of this thing is insane. If you can see all the different dents and bumps, I actually launched this out of my bottle cage on my bike multiple times on my 800-mile bike trip, and this thing was totally fine. Yeah, it's all scuffed up from the road and stuff. So the durability is very high with this. The other big pro specifically of the Grail is the fact that this has multiple uses. So not only can you purify your water, but you can also use this as a cook pot on your stove or on a fire. And then they make a coffee press that goes with this. So the Grail water purifier has multiple uses. So if you're somebody that's trying to kind of take one piece of gear and get a lot of things done, something like the Grail has a lot of multi-uses. So it's pretty versatile for what it is. Oh, I guess also you could drink out of this as a water bottle if you needed. So I guess it has 4 uses because you can just put water in it and then you can just drink out of it just like that. But the cons of something like a purifier. Well, first off, this thing is big and bulky and heavy. And this is actually much more compact and less bulky than some of those old pump filters that has the pump and the filter and the hose and the little thing at the bottom. And they're pretty expensive. Water purifiers range anywhere from about $200 to $300, but I guess you get what you paid for. And then the biggest con of these water purifiers, what I've found with the charcoal filter inside, is the fact that it does not do very well with silty water. If you get silty water in something like a Sawyer squeeze, you can simply back flush it. You can tap it on a rock a couple times, back flush it, and you're good to go again. Where this is much harder to actually clean when you're out in the field, so it doesn't play well with the silty water. So those are the biggest pros and cons of both a water filter and a water purifier. And to answer the question, which one is best for you to use in the backcountry? Well, like usual, there's not really a one-size-fits-all answer. They're really different tools for different jobs. So if you know that you're going to be hiking and your water sources are going to be more pristine, if you're going to be filtering out of springs and nice streams and glaciers, a water filter is probably going to do just fine for you. I know it has for me over the last 10 years and over 14,000 miles. This has been just fine, and I've only gotten sick a couple times. But if you're going to be around sketchier water sources, if you know that you're going to be hiking through agricultural areas where there's going to be pesticides and runoffs, if you know you're going to be in a place where norovirus is rampant, a virus that is very common on some of the big long distance trails like the Appalachian Trail, where you want to make sure that those viruses aren't getting in your water, or you're going to be somewhere with heavy metals in the water. So say you're hiking in a mountain range that might have some fracking or construction or mining going on. A water purifier is going to be your better choice. So they really are different tools for different jobs. And I know going forward for myself, I'm going to choose one over the other depending on the type of trip that I'm going to be doing. So hopefully this video helped give you a little bit of an idea of the difference between both and why you should consider one over the other depending on the type of trip that you're doing. Speaking of that, what do you currently use on the trail? Are you using what most of us use, something like a Sawyer Mini or Micro or the Sawyer Squeeze or a Katadyn Be-Free, or are you a Purifier person? Are you already using something like the Grail GeoPress or something like one of those old MSR pump filters like the Guardian? Leave me something down below, let me know your thoughts, and tell me why. Tell me why that you choose one over the other. Guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. I hope you're taking care of each other. I love you, and as always, thanks for watching.